Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I congratulate the Honourable Member for Cheltenham for his excellent maiden speech, and I'm pleased to follow him. It is a great honour to be elected to this House to serve the people of Bridgwater. I thank them for putting their trust in me. Bridgwater is a most diverse constituency. It combines the three historic towns of North Petherton, Burnham-on-Sea and Highbridge, and Bridgwater itself. The constituency runs from the coastal villages of Barrow and Breen in the north to the villages of Netherstowey and Enmore in the footholds of the Quantocks in the west, and to Middlezoy and Othery on the Somerset levels in the east. The Battle of Sedgemoor was fought near Western Zoyland in 1685. It was the end of Monmouth's rebellion, and we should all be grateful that it was the last battle fought on English soil. Bridgwater is one of the original boroughs to send elected members to this House in 1295, though it is not an unbroken record. In the 1868 general election, the two Liberal candidates defeated the two Conservative candidates by just 44 votes. Such was the evidence of bribery and corruption on both sides, I must add, that the two MPs were unseated and the borough disenfranchised. A royal commission later found that over £1,500, that's more than £200,000 in today's money, had been spent on bribes. Mr Deputy Speaker, I can assure you that I have paid particular care to my election expenses. Bridgwater has a radical tradition. One of our most famous sons is Admiral Robert Blake, regarded by many as the father of the Royal Navy. He represented both Bridgwater and Taunton in this House in the 17th century and fought on the side of Parliament in the Civil War. Another of my radical predecessors is Vernon Bartlett, who won the seat in the 1938 by-election in what at the time was a remarkable defeat of the Conservative government. He stood as an independent progressive endorsed by both the Labour and Liberal parties, opposed to the Munich Agreement. Now, in this country, we often credit Winston Churchill for his opposition to the policy appeasement of Nazi Germany. It is less well remembered that it was the Labour Party under Attlee, Bevan and Dalton who were the strongest opponents of this disastrous policy. I'm sure all members, and especially the members opposite, will be mindful of their party's proud history of opposing appeasement as this government decides how to support Ukraine and how best to deter future Russian aggression in Europe. Mr Speaker, Deputy Speaker, I should like to pay tribute to my predecessors from the two former constituencies that make up the new seat of Bridgwater. James Heapy is the former member for Wells, who stood down at the last election. He is well liked and respected in Burnham and Highbridge. He served with distinction at the Ministry of Defence. He was also a kind and helpful colleague when I was selected as a candidate, and I thank him for his service. Ian Liddell Granger represented Bridgwater and West Somerset for 23 years and is remembered for the support he gave our rural communities following the terrible flooding in Somerset during the winter of 2013-14. Ian visited the affected areas every week and persuaded David Cameron to visit Somerset to witness the devastation for himself. It has not been forgotten that the former Prime Minister turned up without Wellington boots. Ian led the campaign for a barrage over the River Parrett, which is now in the early stages of construction. I will continue Ian's work to ensure we dredge our rivers and maintain our defences so we minimise the threat of flooding in the future. I also want to mention Tom King, now Lord King, who represented Bridgwater for 31 years until 2001. It is a mark of the respect and affection in which he is held that his name was mentioned so many times on the doorstep during my campaign. Tom also wrote a helpful endorsement saying why people should vote for me, which only goes to show how wise he is. Bridgwater is an industrial town. It has many small businesses, and I will do all I can to support them. We need to encourage entrepreneurial spirit, because that is how we create prosperity for all our citizens. We welcome thousands of tourists every year to enjoy our beautiful Somerset coastline. I want to encourage those tourists to spend longer in Somerset, to visit more of our beautiful countryside, and to consume more of the excellent produce from our farmers and growers. Bridgwater is also the home of the Guy Fawkes Carnival, the UK's oldest carnival and one of the largest illuminated carnival processions in Europe. Hundreds of volunteers work tirelessly to create this fantastic spectacle and to raise thousands of pounds for charity. Much has been achieved for Bridgwater and for Somerset over the last 14 years. Hinkley Point C is being constructed and will provide secure and low-carbon energy to the whole region for generations. The electricity it produces will power Gravity, the smart campus where Agritas will build one of Europe's largest gigafactories. These two projects will provide jobs and opportunities for years to come. The town of Bridgwater was awarded £23 million under the last government's Town Deal initiative. This will fund many important local projects, including restoring our historic docks and refurbishing the Arts Centre and the Town Hall Theatre. But there is more to do. I will work with our new Police and Crime Commissioner to tackle the antisocial behaviour that affects our towns. I will campaign to protect Paulet Hams and stop it being turned into an unwanted salt marsh by the Environment Agency. And I will keep the promise I made during the campaign to Aaron Reid, the head teacher of Haygrove School. Haygrove School is one of the top performing schools in Somerset. It is also one of 3 schools in England built by Caledonian Modular and now condemned as unsafe. The last government promised to rebuild Haygrove, and I trust the new government will honour that promise. So I will support the school as we work with the council and the new government to find a solution that benefits the pupils and staff of Haygrove. Mr Deputy Speaker, I'm proud to have been elected by the people of Bridgwater. I will serve them faithfully and to the best of my ability.
Maiden speech, Richard Baker.